Hi students, today I am going to teach you William Langland. And we all know William Langland because he has written a great work, Piers Plowman. So before I start, I would also like to tell you about the author first, which is also a compulsory part before any work is taught. So William Langland, he was basically a great and a very well-known, distinguished name and a contemporary of Godfrey Chaucer. And the name of the poet has been spelt in a different way, or we can say differently. एक नाम है जो है W Skeat, WWSKEAT. If you remember this name, he preferred the name Langland to Langley, Langley. This person preferred this to this. There was an author, there was a name Bale, Bale. He suggested that no, it should be Langland. Some scholars suggest that the name Langland is derived from Langley. And what is this Langley? It is a small village in Oxfordshire. Quite a few scholars have turned down this theory कि नहीं ये गलत है. And they also maintain that Langley is in Shropshire, not Oxfordshire, but Shropshire. And we have also reasons to believe that the place, wherever it is, but that should be near the Malvern Hills. कहाँ होना चाहिए? That should be near the Malvern Hills. Malvern Hills, जहां पे जो कवि है उसने ड्रीम को ड्रीम किया था, where he has dreamt his dream. And it is obvious that Langland had clerical education in his boyhood in one of the monasteries at Malvern. Malvern में मोनास्ट्री थी, वहां पे ऐसा माना जाता है कि इसको वहां पे क्लरिकल एजुकेशन मिली थी, या तो ग्रेट मैलवर्न में या लिटिल मैलवर्न में. नाउ ये जो पोएम है द विजन ऑफ विलियम कंसर्निंग पियर्स द प्लाउमैन, ये बड़ा नाम है, कभी कभी बच्चे इसको मिस्टेक कर देते हैं, कभी कभी एग्जाम में भी पूछ लेते हैं ये नाम. द विजन ऑफ विलियम कंसर्निंग, द विजन ऑफ विलियम इसको पूरा लिखिएगा. द विजन ऑफ विलियम कंसर्निंग पियर्स द प्लाउमैन, Piers the Plowman is full of numerous references of the life and character of the poet, and from them we can actually build or reconstruct his biography. इनके जो फादर थे, his father admitted the poet in a school of Malvern, and soon or shortly he was made a clerk or a scholar. Yes, thoroughly conversant with the Bible. Bible से वो बहुत प्रगाढ़ हो गया था. Because he was so much conversant with the Bible, so ये assume कर सकते हैं that he is a man of, a man of highly religious temperament. He seriously thought of writing a poem that would bring about social and moral reforms. While about 30 years of age, he wrote the A text of the poem. He wrote the A text of the poem. He had that time no idea of continuing or enlarging it. Various events, or we can say various contemporary events, personalities, are to be traced in this poem, like King Edward III. King Edward III, उसका बेटा Prince, his son, basically the Black Prince जिसको हम कहते हैं, Black, उसका son Black Prince. Then we also find the murder of Edward II. Then we find the Black Death of 1348, 1361. Edward की जो लड़ाइयाँ थी in Normandy, the violent storm of January 15, 1362. And in the prologue to Do-Wel, in the prologue to Do-Wel, we are told that Langland met two friars in course of his wanderings, with whom he discussed much about the poem. He proceeded to London, where he lived for a few years with his wife and his daughter. In 1377, he enlarged the poem into B text, enlarged it into B text, and in which there are references to the last days of King Edward III, और जो फेमाइन आया था 1370 में. Then finally the C text was written in 1393. The C text was written in 1393. C text 1393 और 99 के बीच में या तब तक. इसमें बताया जाता है that we are told of the innumerous height of the poet. We also learn that he had taken orders and egged out his existence by singing psalms for the salvation of the man's soul. क्योंकि वो शादीशुदा था, as he was married and had no worldly ambitions, he had never any lucrative clerical employment. So in 1399, Langland wrote his poem Richard the Redeless. 1399 में लैंगलैंड ने एक पोएम लिखा जिसका नाम था रिचर्ड द रीडलेस. which was never completed. His nickname, इनका nickname क्या था? Longeville. Longeville was the nickname as he himself wrote. और इन्होंने खुद लिखा है कोट अनकोट में कहीं पे, जो कि मैं उसको मैं बोल रहा हूं. I had lived in land, quoth I, my name is Longeville. He was a believer in plain and simple living and high thinking. He hated lords, he hated ladies wearing costly and luxurious clothes. He avoided the company of the sergeants for their pride, for their haughtiness. A tall man with shaven head, he was wandering about keeping his head high, refusing to stoop down to any dignitaries. It has been suggested by some critics that Langland knew how to write legal documents. In a place in chapter 11 of the B text, there are references to lawyers also. There are references to chanceries also. Fine. So now, after completing this, the structure of the poem in short about William Langland, I would like to teach you now here the prologue, and this is actually called the B text. The B text. Now what happened? that in this prologue to the Piers of Plowman, as a summary, the poet had wandered about for a long time. बहुत थक चुका था वो. He was very much tired, so he took rest upon the Malvern Hills for a while, और तभी वो सो गया and falls asleep. And in his dream or in his vision, he sees the world which is represented by a field full of folk, and all these are engaged in various preoccupations. And the field becomes to the poet the world in miniature. The people at their self-appointed tasks, खुद के अपने अपने tasks थे, they are drawn and seen from various walks of life. It was a crowd, mixed crowd, which consists of pilgrims, merchants, friars, jesters, beggars, pardeners, spendthrifts, plowman, and even a king, and even an angel. And the field is situated between the Tower of Truth, and that Tower of Truth stands for God the Father, and the dungeon जिसको कहते हैं, which is the abode of evil spirits. Most of the men that the poet dreams of are evil spirits. Most of the men the poet dreams of, they are basically members of the clergy. The angel offers counsel to the king for better administration, and the poet thinks all the characters to be corrupt, to be steeped in sin. Only the plowman, the hermits, they are good, they are honest, and the poet has a word to say in their favor. And the poet suddenly sees a host of rats, mice, which seriously think of belling the cat. And a wise mouse tries its utmost to dissuade them from the societal policy, and he succeeds in his mission. Now, Piers the Plowman is basically a picture of the 14th century society. अगर आप 14th century को देखें, पढ़ें हिस्ट्री में, और Piers the Plowman को पढ़ें, then you will find that it is actually a true picture of its identity. We all know that yes, literature is a social institution. Why? Because it is an imitation of life. Literature is a faithful record of the entire culture of the social organization, the economic structure, the social stratification, the political setup, the deeply rooted infrastructures, the people, the dominant ideas of men, the contemporary realities of the large part of literature. अगर सच्चाई में कहें, in fact, तो literature is the history of the nation. It is basically the vivid expression of the contemporary feeling. And he was a writer with a sensitive mind. And all the writers are sensitive, does reflect the social, economic, and cultural state of the age, and his writing becomes a social document.